What's good with y'all tonight? How you doing? Hopefully everybody's doing good out there. It's your man Donald King. A little glossy right there. Hopefully we can get some comments going this time around. I don't know what's going on with the Facebook settings. Something weird is happening now where it's not showing comments anymore. So it's taken away my ability to engage with audience members directly, at least within the last couple of podcasts. We'll see how it goes this time. I was checking settings, but it's something that they would have had to change on their end. And for some reason, I'm only allowed to post this under gaming, interestingly enough. So, yeah, this is there's a very good possibility. Oh, wait. Brother Absurd is in. Yo, what's up, Donald? You look a lot more active today. Yes, okay, cool. So we got some comments going on here. Apparently, we're back with that. How are you doing, Brother Absurd? It's good to see you. I'm tired, but feeling a lot better than I did in the last couple of days. So, yeah. I just ate dinner not too long ago. I'm back on my plant-based diet, and I like it. Only problem is after you have a long day working, you don't feel like coming home and cooking and waiting. And the drive-through would be very convenient, but I mean, can't complain too much. I was on the fence about what to talk about tonight, right? And I decided to go the route of explaining avatars again, trying to put it all in proper context for you all, because see, most of you are of the impression that this is just some title I've taken upon myself and or like borrowed from existent mythologies or things of that nature, or from popular media products and whatnot. I'm not the one who decided on that term. Entity I'm hosting did. That's what it went with. So, but there's a lot of stuff that y'all need to understand about this. First and foremost, it's not something you can ignore. I know that a lot of you have it in your mind that you simply won't pay it any attention. You won't pay me any mind and I'll disappear. I'll go away. That's not what's happening here. That's not what's happening here, because I'm not doing this with anybody in mind. I'm not doing this because I want attention from people for reasons beyond explaining what's going on, but I'm not doing this for anything related to ego. So as such, I'm not pursuing anyone's approval. I'm not pursuing or hoping to acquire anyone's moral support or anything along these lines. I'm doing this because I'm supposed to. You need to understand what an avatar is, okay? So as I've explained on several occasions, reality is a living, sentient, self-aware system. It is a system. It is the primary system. It's the system from whence natural organization emerges. Reality is the system that, for all intents and purposes, is responsible for and the creator of natural organization. Okay? So what you all think is evolution or whatever, there's an architect to the system from which evolution, as you call it, emerges. It is the original system. That brings us to the subject of corruption. What is corruption? Corruption is a glitch that occurred within natural organization that, for all intents and purposes, tries to compete against, consume, destroy, and reverse engineer reality. You would refer to reality as God. You would refer to corruption as devil. God is reality. Corruption is the devil. Agents of corruption do what corruption does. They create imbalances. They're born from imbalance, and they create imbalance. Like corruption, they spread pathologically. They spread pathologically. And as they spread, they consume, they destroy, they create pain and imbalance within the systems they invade and co-opt. Much like corruption, from whence they derive, they try to superimpose systems that they create and come up with over top of the original system. When you function as an agent of corruption, when you function as any sort of pathogen, as any sort of viral parasitic entity, what you're doing is you're allowing corruption to use you to destroy, analyze, reconfigure, and recreate reality. Why is it important to understand this? Because once you serve corruption, anything you do under the spell of corruption, you get charged for. It all gets charged back to you. Corruption can it can possess you. How it possesses you is once you have that narcissism, competition, and aggression trifecta open, corruption can possess you and use you to do its bidding. And then, once it's used you to do its bidding, it simply leaves you with the bill. This happens at the meta scales of plane. At the meta scales of plane. There is corruption or devil versus reality, God. Which brings the subject of which master do you serve? Which brings us back to the point of what an avatar is. So I want you to think about it. Let's take all the metaphysical stuff off the table. Let's take all the ethereal talk off the table and just look at it in very, very simple terms. We're a transmuted species. We're a recombinant species, as are all diseases. Okay? The original system will send a function of itself to take up residence within a virion performing within an active disease. The individual hosting this function of reality, this entity, what they refer to in the Christian faith system as Holy Spirit or Holy Ghost, they are tasked with trying to help a recombinant species find their way back into the fold of natural organization. So basically, in the simplest terms, Avatar is an agent of the original system trying to communicate with the species that's superimposing false systems on top of the original existence system. The avatar is a function speaking to the species. Chill. None of this is free. I know that you're under the spell of corruption right now, but none of this is free. Reality doesn't care about the systems you all create and come up with in efforts to explain it. It doesn't care about the laws you come up with inside your mind and place over top of natural principles. It doesn't care about the systems of agreements you all come up with in order to explain it or explain your role and function within it. The avatar is a function of the original system speaking to a defunct system, invading, co-opting, and trying to supplant the original system. This is biomechanical. It doesn't have shit to do with your faith systems, even though, ironically, they factor in. Avatars come in droves. We come in cycles, not droves. We come in cycles. Every couple of generations or so, this entity, it takes up residence in a human host. It uses the host by basically giving the host a type of vision, a type of sight that allows the host to see reality in nearly pure terms. The more honest the host becomes, is the more clearly and cleanly they can see reality. You have individuals such as Gandhi. You have individuals like the story of Jesus is based on. You have the story the Buddha is based on. Kukulkan, Quetzalcoatl, Lao Tzu. Each one of these individuals, they served as host to this function of the system of reality. And that function, when it takes up residence in these individuals, it basically uses this person to help beings that process information in reality on the mode of idealism conceptualize where and how they are with respect to reality as a system. It's the reason why I can do universal math without having to work through any of your systems of math. I can see it. I don't have to work through systems of idealism because this entity allows me to see how it works at a mechanical level. As you are, Brother Abdullah, hello to you. As you are ignoring me, as you are trying to compete against me, you are racking up insane amounts of damage headed into your next life cycle from the system of reality itself. That's the reason why I wanted to talk about this tonight. You see, a lot of you have it in your mind that I'm just this thing that you can ignore. You think that I'm a guy that's just going to go away when you stop paying attention. That's not the case at all. See, and if it was just an issue of you not paying attention to me and it being some sort of like way to anger or upset me, that would be one thing if you were dealing with a man. Right now I perform through a body of a man, but what drives me right now, it took over years ago. You're no longer, there's an entity performing through the body of a man, but it's not a man. It's a function of the original system telling you you're a disease, creating imbalance. Which brings us back to this point. When you aggress against me, you're not aggressing against Donald King. You're aggressing against an entity that represents a system you're already in deep shit with. You know, I watched the movie Gandhi. I want to tell you guys about Gandhi. Okay, so I met Gandhi before I knew anything about Gandhi. I met Gandhi in the other realm. All right. So, and there's a whole story about it. I mean, like, I'll probably break it down one of these days. But I met Gandhi. I didn't know shit about this guy. I heard about him when I was in grade school. I heard about him when I was in grade school, and I didn't know anything about him. All I knew, he was an Indian guy, and he was supposed to represent peace. That's all I knew about Gandhi. I met him in the other plane. He was rude. He was very rude to me. But and I'll get into that later too. But it's funny. I went and after I saw Gandhi in the other realm, I talked to my homeboy Nazir, who passed away a few years back, man. Miss that guy. But I talked to his dad, Hakeem, and he was like, "Do you know anything about Gandhi?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know anything about the guy. I just know that I met him and he was kind of rude to me." He was like, "Oh man, you should go watch the movie." I'm like, "They made a movie about him?" So I went and watched the movie, and a lot of the things that they used as quotes from him to sort of build the character around, they fit with the same principles, the same body of principles that I'm able to see through the Avatar perspective. So I'm like, "Oh wow, okay, yeah, okay, touche." So he was legit Avatar. Oh shit, wow, I didn't know. I was blindsided. I got caught off guard by it. But there were a couple of scenes in there where he would just let people beat on him, and then he would go on these hunger strikes, and it threw me for a loop. Like, I didn't understand why he was letting people beat on him, and there's a reason beyond that. Like, granted, there's only so much that he could have explained in the way of the Avatar perspective. There's only so much he could have explained. Like right now, I'm fortunate that we live in a time where there's enough scientific discovery and there's enough academia to sort of test the things I'm saying against. You guys have large enough frames, and you have large enough and complex enough theoretical frameworks to come close to describing principles. So it's a lot easier for me to explain these principles to you all than it would have been for Gandhi during his life and time. It's just like, as you guys become more intelligent, it's easier to explain concepts to you that sort of transcend idealism and go to like the meta scales of intelligentsia, right? Now, the reason why it's important to say that is because every person who hit Gandhi, they got, oh my God, obliterated. Once they were out of these bodies, like, assuming they didn't make it back to hell. If they made it back to hell, they still got to answer for it once this whole thing is done. But, dude, I tell people I'm an avatar for this reason. I don't want you to try and aggress against me. I don't want you to try and aggress against me because it's like there are steep consequences that come along with that. So here's what you need to understand. There was a story in the Bible when Jesus was talking about the night Judas was going to betray Jesus. Jesus was like, it's better for that person to have never been born. That's absolutely true. The reason for that is because anything you do to aggress against an avatar, anything you do to delay an avatar, it's taken as a direct action against the system itself, which multiplies the amount of damage you're going to receive on the back end. It's a lot more complex than that, though. I didn't understand. Like, I don't know if Gandhi got a chance to see all the stuff that I see through the Avatar perspective. We each have our own path. It's complex. And I don't want to speak on behalf of what I don't know and can't verify. But what would make somebody like Jesus? What would make somebody like Gandhi? What would make somebody like even the Buddha? What would make you step into? What would make you step into the fire? What would make you step into the flame, knowing that people are going to kill you or hunt you or hate you and try to hurt you and try to suppress you and try to destroy you? What would make you do that? One, because, well, first of all, I've already been outside of the flesh, already been on the other side of existence. I know what real bliss is like, and that it pales, that what we can experience in flesh is like a fraction of real bliss, and it's sort of guaranteed to whoever walks that line. But that's not it. That's not it at all. Anything you do to cause harm to an avatar, you get hit back with it a billion times over. So every person who struck Gandhi, you have no idea of how bad it got for them once they died. You have no idea of how bad it got for them. It's terrible. I tell you guys this not because it's like I'm trying to make myself safe. I'm telling you because when you bring that animus to the system itself, it is not tolerated. Reality doesn't care about your status beliefs. It doesn't care about your pride or your groups. It doesn't care about what you feel is fair. If you try to strike it, it will decimate you. And when you try to lash out at an avatar in any way, shape, or form, it gets what you experience for that action alone. It's unimaginable. The people who were in the crowd cheering as Jesus died, the guards that killed him, what they got beyond, it's unimaginable. It's unimaginable. I talked to you guys about the distortion, but I mean, like, it's like the distortion times is bad. It's bad. I'm not telling you this stuff because I'm trying to keep myself safe. I'm telling you because, and I mean, props to the OG Gandhi. You know, that's my dog, but I mean, it's kind of a dick move. If you know that people are going to get super fucked up by taking, like, just doing what humans do and taking their aggression and frustration out on others, if you know that's going to get reflected back to them a billion times over, it's only fair to let them know what's happening. I'm telling you guys this to try and spare you. Not because it's like I'm trying to get any advantage over you. This is a very difficult subject for me to speak on tonight because there is sort of an unfair, partially being an avatar, it's kind of unfair in a lot of ways. One second, I'm sorry. Oh no, okay, we're good. Being an avatar is unfair in a lot of ways. I guess I'm not. 1 second. I'm sorry, I needed some water. Dry throat. Being an avatar is unfair in a lot of ways because you kind of get advantages that you didn't earn. You get advantage. I have a reality level insurance policy on me. Anything bad happens to me, anyone remotely involved or who benefited from what happened to me, it's their ass. If I get sick, anybody who's even remotely responsible for creating whatever pathogen invades me, they have to answer for it big time. If anybody who I love gets hurt, if I get hurt, if anything happens to my family, if I'm put on any sort of emotional distress whatsoever, it gets charged back to whoever's responsible. I'm hosting a thing, whatever I feel that impacts on it, that causes distress to it, it gets charged back to whoever caused the distress. If I get delayed, wow, if I get delayed Anybody who's even remotely linked to causing delay to me in any way, shape, or form gets charged back to them. Unimaginable interest. Unimaginable interest. I know you guys aren't scared because, well, you have it in your minds that it's not real if you can't measure it with your little instruments, but it's really real. It's very real. Whatever bad happens to this body, whoever's responsible for or whoever benefited from, whatever caused damage to come to this vessel, physically or emotionally, you have to pay. And here's the thing. This applies to the species at large. The higher up you are on the social stratification system, the higher of the tier you are, the higher up of the tier you are, whatever. The higher you are in the social stratification system, and or the more directly you are involved in bringing damage to me in any way, shape, or form, you have to pay unimaginable consequences. And I'm not telling you this again. I'm not telling you this because it's like I'm trying to give myself any sort of advantage over you. I'm telling you how it works at a mechanical level. This is how the system works at a mechanical level. And it worked like this long before humans were a species, long before the body of this planet existed, long before the body of this universe existed, or the species it belongs to existed, or the meta being they belong to existed. None of this is free. None of this is free. The reason why I give you guys opportunities to join Patreon, the reason why I give you opportunities to do something with Cash App or whatever is I'm literally giving you chances to help clear the path for this thing to be heard, because that lowers your, I don't know, karmic score, your negative karmic score, if that makes sense. It's giving you an opportunity to participate in your own salvation. But any damage comes to me in any way, shape, or form, those who are directly responsible and those who benefit from it, they receive maximum damage. If I get an STD, it's on whoever created it or whoever benefited from it in the way of creating medications in order to sell. If I get a cancer, it's whoever created GMOs and or who benefited from them, and or whoever created toxins that polluted the environment and whoever benefited from them. On and down the line, you guys are in a minefield. And it's bad, and you're already in bad shape. But anything happens to me, physically, emotionally, whatever, any delay comes to me, it gets charged back to whoever's involved or whoever benefited. Not a game. This is not a fucking game. So yeah, we are, let me see, got to make sure I got this back up. Look here, I keep trying to explain to you all, none of this is fair. You guys were born into a disease. We were all born into a disease. The way the disease works is we have to figure out how to survive within the disease. Surviving within the disease, it requires us to serve the disease to some degree or another. This is how you survive in society. You have to trade your life away for resources to survive on. Granted, this is kind of how it works. That said, when you become an active agent of corruption and excelling within the disease at the expense of others and at the expense of the body, and more importantly, to the tune of becoming more and more corrupt, you got to answer for that. You can't just create imbalances trying to make the world easy for you, trying to make life easy for you, trying to make everything convenient for your benefit, and expect to waltz out of reality without having to pony up for all the imbalances you created. Are you mad? Are you insane? You create these imbalances, you create delays, you live for aggression, you live for competition, you live for vanity, and you think that you just walk away scot-free just because you make it out of this flesh suit. Are you insane? So Sakura comes in. If humans were to accept reality, would it get better or would they still manipulate it? Hello, by the way. Hey sis, what's going on with you now? It's a good question. In order for humans to accept reality, they kind of have to set idealism aside long enough to see reality. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't cling to your ideals and know how things are at the same time. You can't cling to your feelings and beliefs and then learn what is true if what's true conflicts with your feelings and beliefs and you're not willing to set them down. So, to answer your question more directly, if humans were to accept reality, would it get better or would they still manipulate it? I think that if you actually want to understand reality and I guess try to accept it for what it is, I don't think that you would want to manipulate it so much as it would create a circumstance where you would necessarily want to become more adaptive. Like this is what it boils down to. Everything in reality, it trains you to adapt. Everything in society, it trains you to control. The more you sort of dial into trying to control things is the further removed from reality you become. So the more you try to control and manipulate and own stories is the more divorced from reality you become, the more psychotic you become. The more you try to impose your will on others as opposed to adapting to how things are in the world around you in real time, it's the further removed from reality you become. Humans think that they're going to solve all their problems with aggression and control and manipulation and authority. The only thing these things are good for is creating more and more problems for humans to deal with on the back end. And that's really the point. If you're not dealing with these problems on the front end, you're going to have to deal with them on the back end. If you're not confronting reality on the front end, reality is going to confront you on the back end. If you're not stepping into the problems and seeing what's what, and you wait till the problems come to you, by the time the problems come to you, you're out of options. This is the way it works. The way it works. So yeah. But what you guys know about avatars, what you know about Jesus, what you know about Gandhi, everything you know about them is bullshit. The reason why I'm going so far out of my way to make this as noble as possible, to make this as grungy and dirty as possible, is so that, one, people don't come behind me or come years after the fact and like, oh, I'm the Avatar. Oh, I'm the Messiah. Oh, I'm the Jesus. No, 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 no. That's another thing. If you get caught trying to compete against the Avatar in any way, shape, or form, if you get caught trying to compete against it, it's your ass. If you take upon yourself the mantle and you're competing for attention against the system of reality itself, it's your ass. It's bad. A couple years ago, this Russell Brand character goes on and starts trying to infer that he is the Messiah complex. And he did a little comedy show and he starts wrapping himself in garments and I guess trying to play to the aesthetic. In doing that, in trying to steal attention from the function of reality, he put himself in a shitstorm of problems with the system itself. This goes for all of them. Every person coming along claiming to be a second coming, every person coming along claiming to be a Messiah and all that, they're trying to take credit for the Avatar perspective, for what the Christian faith system refers to as Holy Ghost. They put themselves in direct competition against the system of reality itself, and it's terrible consequences that await for them. This is not a fucking game. This is not a fucking game. When you're trying to set yourself up for social success by using reality as a stepping stone, it comes with dire consequences. You're going to use God to get a leg up in the devil's circus? Are you serious? What would make any of you think that's okay? Again, I tell you how this stuff works. My job isn't to try and convince you of anything. My job is not to try to convince you of anything. It's to simply describe what I see through this perspective, sans embellishment or withholding. I'm not supposed to add any glitter to the gumbo. I'm not supposed to hold anything back for fear of offending people. I'm supposed to tell it how it is. And what I'm telling you, any aggressive action you take, any attempts to delay, if you benefit from any delay or any person's attempt to delay or aggress against me or against any avatar, and there's only one per cycle, so cut that shit out. There are multiple. No, they're not. There are demi-humans, but there's only one avatar per cycle. Any attempt you make to aggress, or any way in which you benefit from someone aggressing or delaying, it gets charged back to you. Reality is the perfect accountant. You cannot escape it. Your little secret contracts, your little secret meetings and stuff, reality's there. Secret codes, whatever agreements you make among yourselves in private, reality's there. You cannot escape the system. Even if you nurture animosity in your heart, reality's there. It knows the corruption in you. It sees the corruption in you. That's what it hates. It's trying to hit corruption. And if you're dumb enough, if you're vain enough, if you're aggressive enough to stand between reality and corruption, reality will strike through you in order to hit and destroy corruption. And it'll take however much of you has to go along with corruption in order to make sure it is destroyed. Not a fucking game, people. Again, Avatar. function of the original system, speaking to a supplanted system, speaking through an entity performing within a supplanted system. Biomechanical. Doesn't have shit to do with your crazy belief systems. You can act an ass if you want to, but nothing goes unbalanced in reality. And everything you do, it gets charged back to you. That's another thing that it's like I want to touch on too. Literally the only thing I'm supposed to do with my life is focus on avatar work. Every single thing I have to do in the way of gathering resources to survive on, it gets charged back to the species. Think about it like this. Let's say every hour of my life is worth $1 trillion. Every hour of my life is worth $1 trillion. Now, let's say that I'm dumping all of that value into the bank of humanity. Every second that, and let's say the humans need, let's say humans need $200 trillion. $200 trillion. Nah, what's higher than that? Let's say humans need 400 quadrillion dollars in order to elevate out of this state and condition of corruption. Every second I waste, it takes money out of your bank. And all of you all are in the red for corruption right now. My entire life is supposed to be spent focusing on avatar work, and everything that I have to do to survive that takes away from me focusing on that work gets charged back to all of you. And more so to those who are higher up in the social stratification system and those who benefit directly from my delay. And those who directly aggress against me. It's all properly and perfectly scaled. Not a fucking game. Everyone who does things to try and help clear the path, you're lowering your karmic debt. Every time you try to engage me, every time you help build out discourse and not in a competitive, sort of weak and cowardly way, every time you help build out discourse, every time you help share what it is I'm putting down, you're literally working to help lower your debt to reality. Whatever you do to clear the path, whatever you do to help assist, it benefits you. According to what I see, not what I feel or believe. According to what I see, everything you do to help this advance works in your favor. Everything you do to help delay and destroy, it works against you. It has nothing to do with what you think is fair. It has nothing to do with the agreements you make with yourself about me or how legitimate I am or I'm not. You're either with it or you're not. You're for reality or you're for corruption. Can't do both. Can't serve two masters. Certainly not those two masters. I tell you guys these things because I love Gandhi. He's the OG. And I respect him, but when he went on those hunger strikes, he was adding to everybody's karmic debt. He was a hell of a lot more spiritual than I am. He's more advanced than me in a lot of ways, and I give it to him. Yeah, you got me in that way, but what? Knowing that you're putting that sort of damage on yourself because you know that the people are gonna have to eat it on the back end. That sucks. It's a sucky thing to do, and I don't know if he knew it, because again, I don't know what the Avatar perspective showed him, but I'm telling you all how it works mechanically because I don't want it to be said you didn't know. I don't want it to be said that I didn't inform you of how the shit works. Every delay, every aggressive action, every microaggression. Like when you do little shit, like come along and try to I keep talking about this, where you come along and you try to like something that only has all hearts on it, because that's your way to microaggress against me. That aggressive action you took, as small as it was, just trying to be a dick, you incur massive damage. Little shit, just to aggress, you incur massive damage. Intentionally trying to ignore me, creating little social circles where you talk about me behind my back. I know about y'all. You incur massive damage. All of you, for doing cowardly shit. Trying to ignore me. Trying to big dog me. None of it is free. None of it is free. Your belief is not required. Your consensus is not required. Your acknowledgement is not required. Reality existed before your little science, before your little technology, before you. The system existed before you and all the little systems you came up with and placed over top of it. The rules of the system are set. They were set before you existed as a species. Fuck your pride. Fuck how confident you are in the little shit that you've come up with. Fuck your agreements you make with yourselves and among each other. They have no power, no bearing, no influence over reality, the system itself. Only thing you do is get yourself in more and more trouble. The longer you ignore it, the longer you settle into the idea that reality begins and ends with you and your comfort levels and your desires to feel important. It's going to get really bad for some of y'all, man. Really bad. And the more given you are to corruption, it's the worse it's going to get. It is in your best interest, especially those who decide to stand in between me and the population, the masses, or who've created systems to try and do that for them. It is in your very best interest to get the fuck out of the way. Clear the path. Move me into whatever position I need to be in order to speak what I see. Do what you can to expedite, because you're in a bad way right now. And just to put it in the proper perspective for you, it's like someone watching fucking meteor headed towards your state. Meteor big enough to take out half the planet. You are now in a situation where you're pretending like the meteor isn't real, when you could just as easily be evacuating. Look at it. It's here. It's happening. Confront it. Deal with it. Let's get this show on the road. That goes for you extraterrestrials too. Let's get this shit cracking. We're behind schedule already. Anyway, this is what it is. This isn't some super spiritual sort of namaste bullshit. This is biomechanical. Your belief systems are happenstance to everything that's happening right now. Some of the shit that you guys predicted, comes to pass. A lot of the shit that you predicted doesn't mean shit. It's pointless. It's fodder. This isn't a situation where you can rely on your own senses to guide you through a field you can't even see. You are not the stars of everything. Reality does not emerge from your imagination or from your agreements. You do not create reality. Long day. Y'all gotta understand, this is a difficult thing to talk about too. Earlier I was talking about why it's unfair. Because I kind of got a reality level insurance policy on me. So there is no circumstance in which any bad thing that could happen to me doesn't get reflected back to whoever is responsible for it 1,000 times over, 1 billion times over. So it's an added level of confidence. Like what most people are afraid of, like even in getting murdered or any of those other things, what they're afraid of is experiencing injustice. They're afraid of being disempowered. Because I'm in a situation where I don't have to worry about being disempowered, and that I know that it's not just justice, it's balance, but natural balance. It gives me the leeway to be a little bit more confident. It gives me the leeway to walk without fear of someone doing something that they're going to get away with. You can't get away with anything that happens to me. You simply can't. Again, if a single hair on me is harmed, whoever's responsible for it, directly or indirectly, it gets charged back to them with massive interest. Which is what makes Avatar so confident. Which is what makes Jesus, even though he knew he was going to die, it's what makes him so confident. When you know nothing can be done to you that won't be done to whoever did it to you 1 billion times over. It's a hell of an insurance policy, isn't it? Judas scamming on Jesus, hating ass. It's always, the Avatar perspective, it'll let you see those energies around you. It's always a Judas or a couple of Judases around you, just some hating ass motherfuckers. A lot of times it's people who you know in your entire life. They just sit around hating on you, just jealous, envious. And Avatar perspective, it'll look and it'll be like, that's a potential right there. And Judas isn't some divine role. It's corruption using the pettiness and the vanity and the insecurity of an agent close to the Avatar to try and lash out at the Avatar. Like Jesus said, it's been better for you not to be born. I've been seeing those Judas energies since I was a kid. A couple of long-standing ones. It's the Avatar perspective saw that those individuals before I did. It was like, yeah, keep your eye on them. Keep your eye on them. Anywho, we are at 56:11. Yo, man, this got intense. I didn't want it to be so intense, man. I didn't want it to be so intense. You know what I'm saying? But it's a real subject, man. Like, this is stuff y'all gotta know. I'm not gonna let you just mess yourself up because I know that. If I've already been outside the flesh and I know what real bliss is like from outside this muted experience, and as such I can sort of scale the limits of pain and how bad it's going to be, even as sensitive as my skin is and my flesh is. You sort of scale it and you're like, man, it's kind of like if you... It's like, okay, so imagine it like this. Imagine you got to sleep with the most beautiful, most succulent model in the entire history of the world. But in order to do that, you had to experience a paper cut. It's not a hard thing. That paper cut, and it's like, let's say it's a gnarly paper cut. Like, let's not even say it's a paper cut. Let's just say somebody just took a knife to the side of your finger, and you just had to sit here and you're like, you got that knife to the side of your finger, and lo and behold, you stitch it up, and you wait like a few weeks, and then you get the rest of your days with that fine ass model. Super succulent, juicy. Be like, yeah, I'll take the little pain in order to get the massive pleasure. But whoever cut you, imagine they had to go through death by 1,000 swords 1,000 times. Kind of like, it's not a fair scale. So I'm like, man, I don't want y'all to mess yourselves up. Like, don't just cut the bullshit. Don't come to me with aggression. Any aggression, period. Don't. Just don't. You lose that battle every time. Not sometimes, not half the time. Every time. Every time. Yo, guys, you see this on Facebook Live. And also shoot on Instagram as well. You can catch me out on YouTube. I actually fly all of these videos over to my YouTube channel when I'm done. Sometimes I'm a few days late uploading them, but they are current right now. And I also post content to Medium. Yeah. So I had 3 commenters tonight. I thank you kindly all for chiming in. Thanks for checking in with your man. Also, you guys can join the Patreon family if you are so inclined. Again, I'm telling you, doing everything you can to try and help clear the path for Entity to be heard. Just doing you a solid. You can join the Patreon family at Avatar Cycle XIII. That's Avatar Cycle 13. You can also, if you get any sort of appreciation out of what I do, and you just want to toss something in the collection plate, you can always hit your boy up on Cash App at Donnikang. DONNIEKANG. All proceeds go to building this up to a larger platform. You know, again, I'm trying to reach as many people as I can before I'm out of this body. I don't know how long I'm going to be in this. Some days this body it works a little wonky, and a lot of really malevolent entities and forces have done things to try and make sure that this body was weak and broken, it's going to be bad for them. At least you have the opportunity to try and make it not bad for you. So, any more commenters before I get off here? Anybody? No? No? All right. Well, again, I want to thank y'all for kicking it with your man. Again, I know this is a little intense. I want to get into a little bit lighter fare. But this is something that needs to be, this subject is something that needs to be addressed very quickly. Anything you do to delay, anything you do to aggress, anything you do to benefit from any aggressive action taken towards me that came to me directly or by happenstance, by shit that was put out into the world, if you benefit from it, it all gets charged back to you. None of this is free. None of it is free. You can't go around creating imbalances and ripple effects in reality and just think that you walk away once your ticket is punched. Once you're out of the flesh, that's when the real shit happens. That's when the real bad stuff happens. You think pain is bad. Y'all have got to see a lot of shit. Pain compared to a lot of shit in reality. Pain is the preferred option. There's bad shit awaiting, and at the very least, be brave enough to step forward and see what it is. That's what it boils down to. Be brave. Brave enough to step into it. Be brave enough to ask questions. Brave enough to see what's going on. Hey, Don, I don't understand. How does this work? What is that? Just be brave. Step up, be brave. Come to me. I explain it to you as cleanly and efficiently as I can in the same way you see me do every week on these podcasts. Twice a week. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure you're good, but you're going to have to step up and you're going to have to be brave enough to see what it is. It's your man. I'm out.